Inna Segal is an author, a healer, an international educator, and a coach. She is the visionary behind the Awaken the Healer Within programs and the best-selling author of The Secret Language of Your Body. Welcome to the show, Inna.
Thank you so much, George. So happy to be here with you.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Tell us a little about your personal life, some more about your work, and why you do what you do.
Well, I help people to really transform their lives and their health, which I feel they're both very, very connected. You kind of can't do one without the other. And I love doing that. I teach people how to essentially connect to their body, start to listen to it, receive messages from it, and essentially decode the messages that come to them. And those messages are to do with their emotions, to do with their relationships, to do with how they experience and perceive life. A lot of experiences that have been traumatic have been pushed down for most people by most people and are stored in different parts of the body. And because we live in a society where we do push things down and we freeze things and we kind of go, I don't know how to deal with a difficult situation, so I'm just gonna, not think about it. Eventually these types of experiences become hardened inside the body, and they can turn into anything from an autoimmune disease to a nervous system disorder to potential tumor, um, headaches, anything, back pain like I had. And my own personal journey is what really took me onto this kind of healing exploration. I, like most people, came from a very mainstream household, mainstream kind of way of seeing things, which is let's show up at the doctor's office and the doctor will take care of you and give you whatever drug to take. And then that's it. That's all you have to do. And unfortunately, in my case, that just wasn't working at all, or fortunately. And so I had psoriasis. I had all over my skin, which is a very unpleasant skin condition that is very itchy as well. And that started very early in my life when I was about 10.
Hmm.
And then I started to have this really bad back pain, digestive problems, anxiety. And yeah, I just kept trying with doctors, with physios, with chiropractors. And then I had this moment of epiphany, which a lot of us have, where this chiropractor basically said to me, your body's stuck. There's nothing I can do for you. Go home, when I was in agony. And whilst I was furious, I was, insanely angry. Um, he was that life change for me because when I was in my car on the way back, I was thinking, I spent years and years and years going to see different people, and with the attitude of here I am, fix me. I know nothing about my body. Like I have no idea. And essentially he prompted me to reflect on the fact that maybe my body had a language, but it was speaking Japanese to me, and I had no idea how to decipher Japanese. And so I went home and I connected with my body. I felt very connected to my thinking, my feeling, and my will center, so to speak. Like I was aligned, I was ready to transform. And during that process, I was able to, I guess, connect to something higher than me, I felt, but also thought came to me, can I see into my body from literally out of nowhere? And I was able to see all of a sudden, it was like this light switch went on, and I was able to see. And then, not from a victim perspective, but from really wanting to know and being very curious, I asked, where did this come from? Where did this come from? And I didn't know this at the time, but I'm actually a very visual person. And visually, I started to see memories essentially of flashing by of me coming to Australia, which is where I am, not knowing one word of English, being really, bullied for that, and then my family, my parents found it very hard to come into a new culture. And so they had a lot of conflict, and I felt uncomfortable or unsure what was going on at home. And then I also realized that my grandparents had gone through the war and had a lot of loss that they hadn't processed. And that I was this sponge for people's energy. And as I acknowledged all this and felt through it, I literally just I could sense this release through my body and I fell asleep. And the next day when I woke up, I just felt like 70% of the pain was gone. I felt very, very different. Still very skeptical, mind you, because I'm quite skeptical naturally. And but for the next 3 weeks, I just kept exploring, exploring, and connecting to my body. And by the end, all the pain was gone. My skin, all, everywhere, and my body was completely clear because I had a lot of psoriasis. And my anxiety went right down. My digestion improved because there was a lot of food I couldn't eat, as I would blow up. And so I just went, something really different has happened, and then I realized that I could see into other people's bodies by kind of a very interesting scenario that happened.
Well, that is quite a journey that you've been on, and now you're helping people to do the same, or at least similar. Do you think that we're naturally connected to our bodies and we just don't realize it, or we disconnect, or if we don't pay attention, we lose the connection?
I think most of us are actually being taught not to connect from childhood because to connect means to feel. And most of the adults that have brought us up didn't know how to feel themselves. They kind of go, I have to get through life, which means thinking and doing and running and rushing. And the more you do that, the more kind of desensitized we become, and the more we watch TV, we spend time on Facebook or online and not connect to nature and not actually give ourselves time. So what I find is that because people don't know how to really connect, they tend to rush and run around with no real giving themselves time. And to be sensitized is to be connected, is to have that time to breathe into your body, to ask questions, to explore, to be in touch, so to speak, with what am I really feeling? What is that about? And so if we don't do that, we cannot really be connected to our bodies. But if the question is, can anybody do it? My answer is that if they choose to and they understand that you have to be honest and you have to be real and things are going to show up for you, then anybody can do it, but you are going to have to kind of face stuff, that your body is showing you.
It's almost like we're trying to pacify or dominate our bodies. Just like, come on, body, come along. It's almost like we're just sort of, we're certainly not valuing it, and we're not, and why would I understand how to listen if I've never been taught? So
Mm, exactly. And that's exactly it. We really, really don't know what we're capable of. And we actually don't know ourselves. We don't know why we react the way we do. We don't know so many things that come from various experiences, including and in particular our childhood and what we saw in terms of our parents and how they behaved and what they felt. And so we kind of just take things on and we don't even realize what we think or believe until we stop for a minute and go, is this my belief or is this the belief of my father or my mother or somebody in my family?
I wrote down that we treat our bodies like storehouses of trauma and certainly our bad decisions with different lifestyle more so than we're actually listening to it. And when we do that, to your point, we're just it's not like it's going away. We're sort of brushing it under the rug of our bodies. And we have so much to gain. It's going to tell us or help us better understand how we're interfacing with the world and feeling things. It's going to tell us if something's wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, to go back to actually how I discovered that I was able to see into people's bodies was that I was doing a journalism course and professional writing because that's what I thought I wanted to do in my life. Um, a few weeks after my own experience of healing, and I was sitting next to, at the time, a friend of my partner who was a great writer, and I was just asking her for help to read my work. And I didn't know her very well. I'd met her maybe a couple of times before. And as we were sitting there, I saw this image of a liver above her head. And it was very strange. It looked like a cartoon, and I kept opening and closing my eyes and thinking to myself, oh my God, what is going on? Am I going absolutely mental? Yeah. And she said to me, is there something in your eye? And I said to her, no, but can I ask you a really strange question? And she said, yeah, sure. And I said, do you have liver problems? And she said, oh my God, I've had them my whole life. And what was so interesting was that as I said that, this image of her liver changed and I could see her grandfather. And I said to her, did your grandfather have the same problem? And she said, yes, he did. And then it was again amazing. I literally saw that her grandfather had gone through the war and had been taken to a concentration camp. I didn't know any of this. And I said to her, is this true? And she said, absolutely. And she said, and then I said to her, do you get nightmares? And she said, I do. And it was like this, she was carrying this intense ancestral trauma. And then I remember saying something, and I thought to myself, oh my God, I know nothing about the body. I cannot believe I'm saying this. And I said to her, feel like your problem's connected to your DNA. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, this is just crazy that I'm saying this stuff. And also to your ancestry and all these unprocessed emotions and traumas. And then I told her a lot of really detailed personal things about her grandparents and her family and her mother. And she was like, I don't know this stuff, I'm going to call my mom. And she called her mom, and she was 25 at the time. I would have been 21. And she got off the phone and she just looked at me and she said, I've just learned more in the last half an hour with you about myself and my family than in the last 25 years of my life. And then 2 years later, she had tests done and they said, your issues in your DNA. So it's just incredible how, to me, it's like our body's just wanting to give us that knowledge. And in some ways, I must have been just in that open state. And it was like, okay, someone can hear me, even if it's not the person. I'm just going to let it, share it. And from years of kind of connecting to people and seeing this, I've been able to really create a map of how to guide people back to themselves and to understanding their bodies and their ancestry and where things really come from, and then how they can start to really transform their lives.
What a story. What an experience. That's awesome. Do you have something in your eye? No, I'm just looking at your liver and now your grandfather. I think that that's amazing. So when we do, and I also I love the idea of providing somebody a map to bring people back to themselves. I think that that's really cool, because we need that. If I don't have, and I can't just do something if I don't know how to do it, and if I don't have a map or a plan, then it's not going to work. So listening to my body, it will obviously benefit me physically, but is it also spiritually and mentally as well?
Absolutely. It's actually my topic of, passion is understanding depth of our soul and spirit and how when we essentially when we start to connect to the body and listen to it, we're also connecting to the soul because the soul, and I've studied this in depth, and because I'm so passionate about this, is all about our, personal kind of desires, emotions, what we believe we love or don't like, who we connect with and why. And so it's it's very, it's like no one has the same soul as you, right? It's so unique. And how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling is kind of connected to it, but also other subtle bodies that we have. And when we take that step towards ourselves, we actually open the doors to understanding the, it's not just understanding of spirituality, but deepening into it, feeling ourselves as a spiritual being and what that is really about for each person, which is also very individual. Some people are very connected, you know, to the Christ being, for example, and as they open themselves, they feel this love pouring in their hearts and kind of expanding, and they start to know themselves in a different way, and they actually start to act in a different way, like their morality changes, their integrity, who they are, what they do for other people changes. So it is really beautiful because it also can open up your intuition like it did for me. I didn't even know that I was capable of it at all. It was a shock, essentially.
You talked about how and it's true of it used to be true of me, and probably still is too much, that when something's wrong, we just go to Western medicine and it's a pill or it's whatever, and it's all wonderful. And there's so much more that that would just if we're not looking for it, if we're not investing in it, then we're not going to have it, and we're not going to benefit from it. And there's so much more that's there. And so when we start going that direction, when we take a step towards, it's going to kind of sound funny, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. When we take a step towards our body's going to start taking steps toward us, and we're going to be rewarded through better health, but also a better relationship with our souls and actually tapping into our intuition. And whether it's true or not that we use a small percentage of our brains, well, what else? What else is available to us? And that sounds like that's what you're helping to unlock for people.
Absolutely. It's kind of like we befriend our bodies, and because we befriend them, they want to the body wants to work with you because the body essentially holds the soul within it. And there was this really interesting experiment that was done, I don't know, 20 years ago or something like that, where certain scientists were working with people with multiple personality disorders. And what they found was that, let's say Jane had personality A and she had diabetes where she had to take insulin. And then if Jane went into personality B, she didn't have diabetes. She actually had a skin condition that showed up. And then if Jane had personality C and went into personality C, she didn't have her skin condition just disappeared. She didn't have diabetes and her eye color changed,
Wow.
which was absolutely insane, which kind of tells us a lot that is it the body that's affecting everything, or is it what embodies it, our soul? Because we're all so different and unique. And even in one family, if there's triplets or twins, they are they have what looks like a similar body that looks identical. They were, kind of born within minutes of each other. Um, but they're so different. And so that kind of goes on this whole journey of who are we really? Where do we come from? What are we actually capable of? And, you know, when we get to know ourselves and we start to become in alignment with with our own being, we start to follow our soul's journey and purpose.
That's all. It's extraordinary, the multiple personality, and what a wonderful way to illustrate this, that our to view our minds as separate from our bodies, and my right hand's totally different than my left hand or whatever, when in fact it's just integrated and it's all the same. I'm the same. My body is the same as my brain and everything else. So becoming friends with that instead of trying to dominate it, certainly it as we're talking, that's the most obvious thing, right? That I've heard in a long time, yet so few of us think of it that way. So thank you.
Yeah, and slowing down, like really slowing down to, and it's kind of like when you become friends with your body, you also have to become friends with your emotions, because that's one of the things that we find the most difficult. And because they're not clear cut. With our mind, we can kind of go, oh, I had this thought, it wasn't the right thought, or like I can change my thinking. But when it comes to our emotions, we often really don't know how to work with them and how to transform them. And so even in a lot of healing modalities, it's like, well, let's just kind of calm them down, or let's kind of, maybe if we push and push ourselves to feel them, they'll leave and transform, and then we'll feel release. But part of getting, connected to your body is realizing, you know, how to govern and work with and kind of refine your emotions and actually understand what are they holding, and how do we start to, kind of gain wisdom from them as well. So we start to, this is what this getting to know, this is this kind of real discovery. And I just want to share one more story that was profound for me. I was teaching in Paris for a couple of years, and there was this lady, and she was in her maybe late 60s. And when I was coming in, each time she would look at me and in a very skeptical way, very skeptical way. And then one day, because there was a bookshop, and then I would teach kind of underneath the bookshop, there was this space. So she would always be in this bookshop. And one day I came in, and she was downstairs where I was teaching, and I said to her, "Oh, are you here? You really, and she said, yes. And I said, I know you've been very skeptical of me. What made you, decide to do the workshop? And she said, you know what, for 2 years, I've been observing you. I haven't believed you, but I've been observing how people come into the course. And she said, they look all heavy and down. And then when they come out, it's like they've had a facelift. And she said, I'm here for my facelift, which is really funny. But to take it further, I didn't actually know what her issue was. And she was going to have surgery on her ankle. And we never talked about her ankle. And at one point during the course, I kind of again tuned into her, and I felt like she didn't have any self-confidence. And so I started focusing on helping her to work on her heart, never her ankle, on her heart. And in her heart, there was an issue around her relationship with her father. She hadn't spoken to her father for 20 years. And what was incredible was that within days of doing this process, her father called her, and this happens a lot, like so often, it's crazy. Her father called her after 20 years and they started to rekindle, so to speak, reconnect with their relationship. And within a couple of weeks, without doing anything on the ankle, just on the heart, her ankle healed and she didn't need to have surgery.
Amazing. Amazing stories. I love it. Well, Inna, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people learn more about you? How can they engage with you? The courses, the coaching, the books?
Well, they can go to innersegal.com, which is where they can look up masterclasses. So the best way to start to connect with me is to see how I teach and how I guide you through all these different aspects, like with this lady that I was saying, where you think the issue is and where it started or where we need to work on it may be very different to where you're focused on. And this is about this awakening, connecting to the body. And I start to share and actually give processes to people in these free masterclasses, which you can either, like I said, go to my website, innersegal.com, or you can go to innersegal.com/secret, which is the first masterclass connected to really connecting to your body and discovering. And then from there, if it speaks to you, then you might, decide to come and do some of my workshops where I really dive deep into everything from connecting to your body, to your spirituality, to who you are, to working through your emotions in the most healthiest structured way. And it's beautiful. And then you can also find me on Facebook, Inna Segal author page, and or Instagram. I think it's similar. It's the same, Inna Segal author. And and also you can connect just to my newsletter by going to the website, and then we just email you all the information as they're coming up because I'm constantly also doing live classes and also questions and answers and just trying to support people in every way that I can.
Oh, I love it. And if you enjoyed this as much as I did, show Inna your appreciation. Share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. Go to innasegal.com. It's INNASEGAL.com. Check out the master classes. Start with Secret. So you can go to innasegal.com/secret and experience it that way. And then check everything else out. Check out one of the live workshops and find her on Facebook, on Instagram as well, and also log in and rather sign up for her newsletter to stay in touch. Thanks again, Anna.
Thank you.
Until next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.